Hey, what's going on, guys? Let's see. Let's kind of see what's going on. Doing a live stream super early. It is currently Saturday, 8:57 in the morning, and I just wanted to kind of check in with everyone, see what's up. And let's kind of play some Tetris here. I don't know if you guys were watching the Classic World Championship for Tetris, but there was recently a tournament for Tetris that was played by a lot of the top Tetris players. And if you go to twitch.tv and look up Classic Tetris, you can watch this like epic tournament between this 16-year-old guy right here and then Jonas Neubauer on the right side. He is the 7-time world champion for Tetris playing. And this guy is just really solid and consistent with his Tetris playstyle. The amazing thing is, even though he's won the championship for 7 years, he was actually taken down by a 16-year-old kid on the left side, Joseph Zayli. And the tournament was so hype. It was so epic, with a lot of different moves from this 16-year-old that no one has ever seen before in the tournament, and he just totally took down Jonas Neubauer on the right side. But yeah, pretty epic battle. I've actually been following classic Tetris and these tournaments for a little bit now, maybe a month or maybe 2 months, and it was just so exciting to watch this entire match. And yeah, I recommend you guys to watch this video on Twitch on their stream. It was so fun. Even though Tetris is 20-30 years old of a game, it's still one of the classics out there, one of the best games. All right, so I'm starting to see a lot of people joining the chat here, and yeah, so I'm just going to be playing a little bit of Tetris for you guys. I'm really bad, so don't expect any top play from me. I'll probably maybe try to hit the score of 300,000 on this stream, and we'll see if I can actually make that. So we have Ivan Joseph Junad. Hello. And we have Dennis Mashari, a lot of people. So let me know in the chat what time it is for you guys, and if this time on a Saturday for me at 9 a.m. in the morning, if this works well for a live stream. And we have a lot of people here. We have Kenny Ho, just went on your website and saw the Tinder course. So excited. So yeah, I know we don't have any videos up for the Tinder course yet, but a lot of the course outline has been written out, I guess. So what do I want to say about the Tinder course? Well, it's currently in the making. I'm still finalizing a couple of features, and I want to see if I want to go deeper into the course. I really want to show some of the nice user interactions and some of the user experience behaviors with tapping and then custom transitions. I want to build that out. I have a lot of the code written, but it's not finalized because the code is really messy. And so I don't know if I'm going to go that deep into it yet. So yeah, I'm just finalizing on some things. So we have Gabriel with finish the app based on intermediate core data. Cheers. Awesome. And we have, let's see, 9:30 in India, 7 p.m. Wow. You guys are way ahead in the timing. 12 p.m. for Kenny. Cool. Ahmad is asking for some right to left on app scale on your channel. To be honest, because in the United States, we don't deal with a lot of right to left orientation for like text and layout. I don't have that much experience using right to left layout user interfaces. So if you can recommend, so Ahmad, if you can send over an application that I can download from the App Store in the United States region that has right to left. Let me know what that is, and I'll have to actually play around with the application to see what the user experience feels like. Because honestly, I don't really know what to expect from an RTL, right to left application. Like, even though Chinese is traditionally, so the Chinese language traditionally is written from the right, it's kind of right to left. It goes from the right and you write downwards, vertically down, and then you skip over to one more column on the left for the next line. So it goes down, 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 down from right to left. And that's the traditional way that Chinese is written. But nowadays, everyone writes from left to right, top to bottom when you're writing Chinese. I guess that's all I'm going to say about that. We have some questions from Ank. Is that Ank Nanab? Is that a Russian name? Can't really read Russian, but he's asking if I still mentor on Savvy. I used to mentor and provide one-on-one sessions on Savvy for like $125 an hour, and I got some people that I used to mentor, but ever since Savvy decided to move away from they kind of pivoted to a different like style of what they want to do. So they're no longer providing, I guess, mentoring and one-on-one, like setting up mentoring one-on-one sessions. So I don't know what I'm going to do for mentoring, because I like doing the mentoring, but sometimes I'd rather just record videos for people. It's a lot more cost effective. Mentoring is pretty expensive for students, and I don't want students to be spending too much money on 1 hour sessions if they don't have to. Let's see, we have some trolls in the chat. That's pretty early, so let's remove that. Okay, so let's see. I guess a couple of things I'll say about future iOS videos for now. I started recently listening to Ray Wenderlich's podcast again, and the last episode on that podcast, they were talking about algorithms and data structures, and I've been diving into some more algorithms again, because I think it's really useful from a programming perspective, and for people that are looking for jobs. There's nothing better than going over data structures and algorithms. You're almost guaranteed to have one of those questions asked during an interview. So the more practice you can get with actually running through a somewhat real world algorithm exercise, the better you'll be, especially for like whiteboarding interview questions. So I am either going to put out a course on the website for me or for you guys to kind of walk you guys through, 10 or 15 Swift algorithms. And we'll see how that goes. I plan on releasing more algorithms on the YouTube channel as well. So I have a video like plan for that, and I have the entire like structure for it already set up. I just have to shoot the video, which takes like 2 hours, and maybe like 3 hours to like shoot, edit, upload. Takes a bit of time. So anyhow, let me see if you guys want to watch me play. So I'm gonna play for a little bit. I'm gonna look over to the chat while I'm playing to see if anyone has any interesting questions. Yeah. Hello everyone. We have Mark Alpont from United States. I don't actually know where you're from, but yeah. So this game is really hard, actually, and I normally play on level 15, which is not this level right here. So let's see. I don't remember exactly how to get the controls to go back. Okay, so level 5 is really slow, and I don't know. Let me know. Have you guys ever played Tetris? It's a pretty big game in United States when the Game Boy was released and when the Nintendo was released. Let me just refresh this. Controls get kind of wonky. And if you guys are good in Tetris, maybe we can play together on a stream or something. Good old NES, Nintendo, released in 1987. All right, so level 15, you can see on the bottom right. And this is a really fast level. I never actually tried to talk and play at the same time. And man, this game is hard. It's really brutal, especially the way that the pieces get generated. Oh god. Okay, so I got my very first Tetris. And like the way you have to place your pieces on the board is really dependent on the pieces that you have next up. So that's a wrong place for that L piece, but we'll have to clear it out. Man, this game is brutal. Okay, so I got that cleared out. Make sure to fill up the hole again. And you want to place your blocks from the left to right so that you can have your opened up well on the right side. That's just because the L block or the I block right here spawns on the kind of the right side, or the way it spins, it's on the right side. Man. And there's actually a lot of advanced techniques in playing this game, but it's really hard to implement the advanced techniques, so I don't actually try to use them that much. Oh, not getting a good set of blocks here. Looks like this is no good. Let's see if I can clear this out. No, wrong buttons. Okay, let's get this long piece over here. And let's get that there and here. Okay, so that's getting closer to, ooh. Let's see if I can clear that last piece over. No, that's not what I wanted. Okay, burned it down a little bit. Let's see if I can stick I don't know if that was the best place for that. Okay, no. Okay, we'll burn it down. Okay, we're almost there. Let's just burn this one down as well. Okay, so not a great start, but oh boy. Let's see if I can cross 100 lines on a live stream. So the lines are up at the very top. I'm currently at 46. And we'll see how far I get. Okay, so we're gonna put that block in there to burn a line. And then we'll put that square block on the left side. And we'll put the line on the left, switch that over. Okay, now we're Tetris ready. Just waiting on a line, and there we go, we have our line. No droughts today. And oh boy. Okay, let's see if we can get a long piece on the left side. Okay, we'll get that. We'll set this up here, and hopefully this is not gonna kill me. Okay, we'll put that there. And we'll burn 2 lines and get a Tetris here. Oh man. Okay, let's see if we can fill up the right side and get Tetris ready with this Z block. Put that there, and bam, we have another Tetris. Let's put that on the right side, plug this up, play as flat as possible. I don't actually know if playing flat is the the best strategy for this game, but it seems to work okay. And this is the place, this is the position of pieces that I really don't like when it's really spiky like this. So we'll try to flatten it out. And that's a better board, but now it's again, it's really spiky, and it doesn't accommodate all of these pieces that well. So it's like this sloping staircase. Let's try to flatten it out with this piece here and put that here. And the problem is you don't want to plug up the left well with any hard to accommodate pieces. And that's not what I want. Oh God. Oh God. Okay, let's see if I can survive this. Okay, nope. 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 Oh. Okay, I made it to 76 lines. Oh, this game's hard, man. This game's really hard. Oh. Okay, so we have some questions. Have I tried Invisible Tetris? No, I haven't tried that. I don't know what that is. We made a Tetris game in our college project using microcontrollers. That's interesting. I'm not planning on ARKit tutorials. Personally, I feel like ARKit is sort of a, I wouldn't call it a gimmick, but I don't really see the real use case of it outside of like a couple of very like specialized applications. So that's kind of why, or the real reason why I haven't really looked into ARKit is because I probably don't have enough time to look into it right now. Used to play Tetris when I was young. Yeah, man. Tetris is fun. I think I'm a little too old to get into the Tetris Grandmasters. Okay, we're gonna start another game. And we'll just let these pieces drop here. Here. Let's try to plug that in with a L block here. Put that there. Wait for a line. There we go. Lucky pieces. Very fortunate pieces there. Looks like this game's giving me a lot of long line pieces, which sometimes is good, but if you're not ready for it, then you just feel like you're wasting those long I blocks. So I've already got 7 of these I blocks. That's never good because what tends to happen is sometimes you get used to all these I blocks dropping, and then after a while they stop dropping and you get epically screwed and you just get droughted for really long. So 11 I blocks so far. And let's see if I can play this correctly here. Ooh, no. Oh, this is bad. See, now I'm just waiting on another I block, which you never want to do that. And luckily this game is giving me a lot of them. So let's see if I can clear this mess up on the right. And okay, we're gonna wait for the J block. Okay, now we're Tetris ready. And we're gonna bang down this Tetris. And okay, so let's see if I can get this piece. No, that was bad. Okay, now we're Tetris ready again. And then we're going to slam this piece down and get our Tetris. Sorry, I'm not focusing on the chat today. Yeah, sometimes it's good to just relax and play a video game. This way you can release some of that stress that builds up. Oh no, this is not looking good. Oh, I should probably clear it instead. Oh, not looking good. Let me get an eyepiece. See, this is what happens when you get too many eyepieces in the beginning. You start playing like the game's gonna give you like a crap ton of eyepieces, but it's just not gonna do that. No, I couldn't move that. invisible Tetris is a game mode where the moment when you place the Tetris, it goes invisible. The piece is still there. Oh, that's I don't know. I have to play that. That sounds really scary. I probably wouldn't enjoy that type of Tetris for too long. Oh, this is not looking good already. Okay, let's put that there. Let's make some good use of these blocks, and let's hit a Tetris down the middle right there, and we are good. So Tetris ready right now, and let's see if we can get some good piece drops, and we'll just clear that line and burn this one. Get Tetris ready again. Let's hope for a line soon. Looks like we're not getting it. And we're going to just burn there. No, this is not good. Okay, clear that. Yeah. No, so yeah, not a good start. Okay, we're gonna play safe. We're gonna play safe and try to clear maybe 100 lines. Yeah, this game is really brutal in terms of if you don't know what to do with your pieces at this speed, then you're gonna top out almost always. Like, it's guaranteed that you don't know how to maneuver your pieces around. Like that was a bad place for that piece. You're gonna lose. So that was pretty horrible too. Okay. Let's try to wait for a piece to clear that out. Okay, we got the good piece here, and now we're gonna wait on this piece, which is pretty awesome. We got that, and we will clear that and get Tetris ready. Bang that Tetris down, and we'll place that on that side. And no. See, nowhere to place that J piece, which I think is a rookie mistake. Like, you don't set it up correctly, but we're gonna clear it out. But unfortunately, I should have moved it a little bit over to the left here. Let's try to tuck this in, clear that, place that here. Now we are playing extremely high, which is never good. It's really hard to move that piece over like that. Maybe I should load up the DAS and play that style instead. No, I spun that way too much. Okay. Gotta focus. So I know a lot of you guys are like new coders to the channel, and I was talking to someone on Twitter a while back about the channel not being so accommodating for new programmers, and I don't exactly agree that like the channel is actually really helpful for people that are just new, like looking at someone code, looking over their shoulder and seeing how they like to put their lines of code. It's really helpful just getting exposed to like someone else writing out a new language. So, you know, just look at how like someone else writes out their logic, and you can learn a lot from that. Okay, all right, we're gonna upload DAS. Sometimes when you're in the zone and you're playing, you just make your pieces, you place them a lot better when you're not thinking too much. Yeah, this feels more natural. It's a lot easier to concentrate when you're not talking, but definitely a lot less interesting for a live stream. No, don't want to do that. Let's fill up the block first. Okay, got lucky there with the eyepiece drop. Another eyepiece here. Okay. Let's just clear it out. Okay, another line. Good, good. Okay, so someone says it's definitely a good channel for beginners. Yeah. Like, the question always goes back to like whether or not you should learn how to program using the storyboard or learn how to program like an actual programmer to just write code to do things. The reason why, I do a lot of programmatic tutorials is because when you're outside in the real world, there are only so many things that you can do with the storyboard, and you pretty much have to go into the code almost always. So showing people how to do it efficiently, that's kind of one of the goals of the channel. And hopefully people are enjoying the lessons. Let's see, didn't want to move it there. Okay, guess we're going to create. Sometimes when I'm playing on this emulator, the buttons don't register. So what happens is, like, I try to spin the block, but it doesn't spin. It's really annoying. Didn't like that. See, yeah, right there, I tried to spin and it didn't work. That's why I had to stutter a little bit. Yeah, I try to spin there too. Like, the blocks don't spin right. Yeah. When you're looking, when you're watching someone else play, it seems like the game is a lot slower than it is. But when you're playing yourself, it's actually a lot faster. Your brain, the way it works is, like, you have to think about what the next piece is going to be, and you have to accommodate for it. So there's a lot of like high paced thinking. Let's see, that block, I'm not sure where to put this now. I'm gonna leave it for a hole to clear just a little bit. No. Yeah, this is never a good arrangement. Now I'm dependent on this piece here. See, no good. So the game just sped up a little bit. And at this speed, it's really hard to play. No, it's not really hard to play consistently because you have to think a lot faster. So now I'm waiting for another eyepiece. Let's burn it down, burn this down. I guess I'll just... That was too high for me to keep playing like that. Oh, it's like epically screwed on that side. No. When it's that fast, it's like really hard to maneuver these pieces. Yeah, level 19 is way too fast. Oh man. Okay, so we made it to the score of 422,000. If you guys watch the classic Tetris tournament, they score up to the 900,000s. Yeah, they score really high, and sometimes they max out at 99999. I'm still trying to break 500,000, which I haven't gotten to yet. Highest score I've gotten was 470,000. So we have best to place pieces in such a way that holes that form don't funnel you down to using a particular piece to fix it. But sometimes these are unavoidable. Yeah. The best way to play is to accommodate for pieces that you consider like non-optimal. And whenever you have a piece that you can't place flat without a hole in your board, the way to place it is to like make sure you can clear it within the next 2 or 3 pieces, and then get back to a flat board and get Tetris ready again. So there's a lot of different strategies, and the more you watch the professionals play, the more you can learn from how they clear their blocks. So I mean, it's kind of like coding in a way. So after you play Tetris a lot, you can draw a lot of different metaphors from the way that the blocks stack and how you clear and when you wait. So for example, when you're coding, right? Like let's say you're writing a program, and what you do in the beginning is you place all your code kind of scattered everywhere. And at the very end, what you should do is like you should reorganize your code into different functions, different variables, make them public, private, and then at the very end you have like all of this code ready, and then you can slam down your eyepiece Tetris and make sure all of your code is organized in like a perfect square block. Nothing's super exposed, everything's encapsulated correctly, and you have a solid like 4-piece Tetris, and you can be satisfied and content with that piece of code. Yeah. And it's okay. You're gonna have a lot of holes in your code too, because sometimes the first time you build out the logic, it's not exactly gonna work out perfectly. You're gonna have some bugs, some edge cases that you don't handle, and that's okay. Whenever I write out my video tutorials, whenever I write out my video tutorials, like sometimes there's a fine line that I draw where I like go through the mistakes that people will generally go down, those bad paths and those I guess those gotchas that you can run into, especially if you're new to that problem set. And I try to go through those problems as much as possible, but sometimes it's a little difficult. So Soren says, I didn't think you can actually play this game. I didn't think it was meant to be played. It's the first time in my life when I see how you actually play this. The great thing about Tetris is that, it's a super simple game. Anyone can pick it up. Like, you don't have to explain many of the rules to anyone that just starts playing. It's really simple to understand. Yeah. I think it's one of the classics of video game history. So So how do we show a large number of views, say about 400 in a single table view cell? I'm trying to see how to fit a map of airplane seats in a scroll view. So I've thought about this also. Like, you know how you have, so let's see, let's try to talk about airplane seats. Let's see if we can get an image going here. I want that top down placement. So something like this guy. Oh man, this is really low resolution. Let's get a high resolution one here. So let me see if I can, no, that's not what I want to do. Okay, let's drag that over. Okay. Now let's see if I'm doing okay on the stream here. All right, so if you want to place this type of view onto your iOS application, what can you do? So any ideas as to how to draw out this view using a scroll view where, you know, maybe, let me try to get my PMouse app there. Let's see, where are you? So let's say, okay, so I'm going to highlight some of the areas here. So let's say this portion of the app, or the app has a scroll view that's kind of horizontally scrolling, right? And you might want to start the application either here, here, or here. So one of these sections is going to be showing inside of your application. And if you want to kind of scroll to the right to see the first class seats over here, and then scroll back to the left to see the more economy seats, the question is, how would you place this inside of your application so that you can have each one of these seats be clickable by the user, right? So it's not just a plain image. You want each one of these things to be either a button or some kind of label, image, something that is user interactable. So how would you place all of these elements in your scroll view is the question. Well, there are a lot of different ways that you can do this, and some ways are more efficient than others. But let's say, so one thing that's difficult about the way this is arranged is the seats are kind of in this slanting UI, which is kind of hard to deal with. And you probably want to use something like a UI collection view that scrolls either horizontally or vertically. Let's see. Okay, so let's assume here that instead of drawing out these seats in this diagonal fashion like this, I would recommend that, let me draw my arrows here. Okay, so you see this part and this part right here. It's really hard to deal with that. So let's assume these are like fully horizontal. So let's assume that this is horizontal with this top row, and this is also horizontal with this top row right here. So assuming that all of your rows are horizontal and vertical, like a Tetris block, they're all just vertical pieces, then you can use one single UI collection view and lay things out horizontally. So if you make this piece right here, so let me clear out this. So as long as you use a, let's say like 50-50 for the width and height for your first cell, if you have a horizontal flow layout, then it'll place the next piece right underneath it with a 50-50, and then you can declare an empty block. How would you declare an empty block? How would you declare an empty block? Well, you can actually declare spaces between each index path using minimum inter item spacing. So if you use that method, you can use an empty spacer, and then you can declare your next block here, and then just keep on doing that, and then provide spacing for each of your gaps here. And then if you keep doing that, it'll just lay things out vertically like that. And then once it runs out of space in the vertical orientation, it'll move to the next column in your collection view. And then you just keep laying that out until you lay out all of your seats. And so if the application is only visible perhaps in this section of the airplane seating, then what you can do is the collection view will automatically allow your user to scroll to the right. And then if you've placed your elements correctly, then you can just keep scrolling over, and then all of your cells or all of your seats will be drawn out correctly. So that's kind of what I would do. To get it to lay out diagonally like this, it's not hard either if you configure the UI collection view layout to draw these pieces slightly in like a slope, a linear slope like that goes up. You can do that as well. So that's not hard, but it takes a while to figure out how to configure a UI collection view layout, a custom layout. Oh boy. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. Sounds like an interesting problem set. You know, maybe I'll sit down and actually try to build out something like this. I think you'll get a lot of questions in like interviews on how to build out something such as this exercise here. Okay. So why not divide that in sections and tap on each section? Well, you have to define what a section is first. So if you're going to have sections for your UI, that's a big trade-off. I would have to consider the pros and cons of not allowing the user to scroll, because as a user of an airplane application, you would automatically assume that you can scroll that UI. And even if you make it separate into sections, you still have to be able to draw out the view using some kind of horizontal to vertical axis layout anyways. So I think the problem still ends up being you're still trying to solve the same problem is essentially what's going on. Oh, pray for Pittsburgh. Oh, that doesn't sound good. What's happening in Pittsburgh? Yeah. So doing it in sections is probably also a good way to manage the problem, and you know, get some feedback from your users to see how they think your app is, or how your app feels, and you probably go from there. Like what a lot of people don't do enough of is to actually test their applications, and I recommend that people let, like, when you have your application developed, you want other users to use it, see if they like the look and feel of your app. Otherwise, they're just kind of like spending time building something that no one's ever going to use, which in a majority of use cases, that's actually what happens. But you know, it's always good to have real people test out your apps. Yeah, so Edwin says, imagine two sections, plain section, tab 1 of 4 section, display a collection view with seats of that section. Yeah. So same. You're still solving the same exercise, I would say. Making it scrollable between sections is probably the same, I would think. I mean, we can go through it like an exercise right now to build it out. I don't know if I can do a live coding exercise. Let me know if you want me to go through a live coding exercise of the airplane seating. Maybe I'll do that. But the problem with these coding exercises is that they take a really long time. Okay, so it seems like people want me to do this live. So let me think about how I would do this. Okay, so let's bring up a single view app. Let's say airplane seating live stream. Oh, this is always fun. If I, do an epic fail here, that's always a good exercise for people to see how I fail on these exercises also. So let me try to drag this over. And we're going to try to build out this airplane exercise. Hopefully you guys can see what's going on here. Okay, so standard UI view application controller, whatever you call this guy. And so what do you do? Make this a UI view collection controller thing. And this guy is going to be your app delegate's root. What's really annoying is sometimes you have to do this, or pretty much every time. Let me try to build my project. And let's see, let's just use a raw view controller. I noticed that when you have a subclass of collection view controller that you don't have the constructor to autocomplete correctly in Xcode 10, which is really annoying. So another thing about this collection view controller class is that we want to make sure that you're using flow layout and not just this. So I'm really surprised. And it makes sense that a lot of people make this mistake, but they use this instead and nothing ever works. Like the layout doesn't lay out your cells correctly. And the reason is because you want to use flow layout. And yeah, I never kind of thought of that while I was making a lot of my first tutorials. And yeah, we'll do it live. We'll do it live. It's actually not broth, and this is worse, like drinking iced coffee when your voice isn't great. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so it looks like some folks are cool. So we have some people enrolling in the Tinder swipe course. By the way, I haven't announced this course yet, but if you guys want to check it out, it's on the homepage right now. And so let me clear this out. Hopefully there's not a lot of stuff there. And yeah, this is the kind of the next course. I haven't finalized a lot of the features yet, but this is what we're going to be building out. Drag this out. Let's say nope on you. And click on that, you can get this little matching animation going. So that's kind of what we have. Let's see if I can leave that on the right side, and let's move on with this airplane exercise, which is going to be interesting. And let's hope for a non-epic fail. Let's refactor this to be airplane seating controller. I don't know if I mentioned this a lot, but I don't like using the word view controller because this is not really a view. It's just a controller that coordinates your views. So this is just a controller. It's actually a lot shorter. I also don't like people that name their files like airplane VC. Yeah, I would recommend not using things like VC, or like when you shorten your words like this. I mean, in iOS, you know what a VC is, but when you're inside of another programming language, you never see the abbreviation for a class name, or most of the time you don't see it. And if you look at the iOS Swift documentation, you don't see abbreviations like that either. So I probably would not use abbreviation for my subclasses. But yeah, that's, I don't know, that's kind of a tangent, but okay. So here we go. What do we want to do? Well, let's say collection view. Let's register some cells here. Cell, that's self. So that's our cell. Let's say cell ID. File private. Okay. So let's say cell for item. Let's cell equals collection view DQ. Okay, so create your cell. Hopefully you guys are familiar with this pattern, and we want to say number of items in section, return 15 or so. We also want to declare some sizes. Delegate flow layout, and let's see down here we're going to say size for item. So what I'm trying to do here is just to draw some cells out here. So let's see if I can get this to width 50 50. All right, cool. So I'm gonna run this right now. We're going to see something instead of our application, and there we go. We have our airplane seats. Okay, so airplane seats are up. Kind of looks like that, right? Not too interesting yet. If you rotate it to landscape, you'll get it to look like that. Not sure if I like how it's aligned, or it's kind of inside the safe area layout guide. That's kind of unfortunate. Let's see if I can fix that really quickly here. So when I'm actually writing out a lot of my exercises, I don't like to use the standard anchoring stuff. So I'm going to drag in this anchoring extension here. Helps me do a lot of anchoring without too much effort. So what we can do is you can say collection view.anchor, and we'll use this. We'll say view safe guy.top, view safe guy.leading, view safe guy.bottom, yeah, safe guy.trailing. So I just wanted to make sure that these seats here are being aligned correctly. So this is on the safe area guide now. Let's see, collection view background color equals .white. Changing it to white will allow us to see the seats a little bit better here. So that's kind of weird. It has that to it. So I think no, this is not it. I think we just want to say view.background color equals white. So there's a collection view in there, and then the view for your controller is actually still this entire thing. You have to understand that there's a lot of views and subviews going on when you're creating these view controller subclasses. So here's our seating, and right now everything is actually oriented vertically, and you really can't see that unless you specify a lot more cells. So let's say 315 items in section, and it's going to kind of draw all of your cells horizontally and then vertically, so you can kind of scroll up. So it's in this vertical orientation. If you change the orientation to horizontal instead, then it'll start laying things vertically and then horizontally to get to the next line. So the way you would change this is to say let layout equals collection view layout. So this is your layout, and you have to cast it to the flow layout guide, and you say layout.direction equals .horizontal. And once you do that, you'll modify the axis in which your collection view scrolls. So you can scroll left to right now. All right. So going back to our airplane here. So this is what I would utilize as the bases for my airplane seats. And so, all the way on the left side, this would be your left seat here. So this right here is your top left seat here. This right here is the bottom left seat there. Okay, and so let's see. We have one, two. We have about, I can't count right now, but we have 7 seats. So the way that this thing is laid out right now, you have what, 1, 2, you have 6. So this isn't perfect, and what you have to do is you have to calculate the seats based on the height of your device, which isn't that hard. So let's say we want to make 7 seats, but then there's really like 9 seats total in the vertical direction. So you have to make 9 seats inside of the vertical, and that's not that hard if you do a couple of things. So let's say the height is 50, right? It's a static constant, which you really never want to make like a hard magic number of 50. And let's just say let's say, you know, device height, and we're just going to consider everything in the landscape orientation. You can use view.frame.height is your device height, and you simply want to provide like device height divided by 9, right? So you just want to try to run that, and you hopefully will get like 9 different cells inside of the vertical direction. But you have to realize there's spacing and padding for each cell inside of your collection view. So right now you have 7, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See if I can get my mouse click going. So 1 is enabled. Okay, 1. Okay, there we go. We have some mouse click action. This is going to be easier to understand. And let's see, what do I want to do here? Well, we're going to declare something. So let, I don't know, spacing equals 8. And for your layout, you can say layout dot line spacing equals spacing, and layout no enter item okay equals spacing. Okay, so the padding for lines, vertical and horizontal, will be 8, and this guy will say CG float, make that compatible with the format or the type of those variables. And then down here for the device height, you want to subtract, I think it's 8. I think it's the number of cells minus 1. Is that right? So let's see. So if you have your airplane seats right here, right? So you have 1. So you have 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right. So it's n minus 9. So let's assume n is 9. I don't know. Maybe we want to do this instead. So num seats in column equals 9. And let's make this a CG float to make this work out. So minus 1 times spacing. And let's take this over to device height. Is that right? This doesn't look correct, but we'll see what happens. So view frame height minus, okay. So now we have 8 seats. Am I doing this incorrectly? Minus spacing, minus 9. That's 9 seats? Seems like we have 8 seats. Divided by 9. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So okay. So we have the total height. The device height is that we subtract the number of seats inside of a column -1 times the spacing. So that should give us enough spacing. Where does the -1 come from? Well, the -1 comes from the fact that you should have enough padding to accommodate for everything. But I feel like the device height, yeah, this didn't feel right when I was writing it out. So what you want to do is like let cell height equals, okay, so the device height is that, and the cell height is going to be the device height minus the amount of spacing. So the padding that's total is going to be num seats in column, which is 9. And you want to have like 8 different spacing lines. So that's kind of where this bit of calculation is coming from. And so the cell height should be that. Yeah, so this is really just 8. And I feel like there's something missing here. I can't really see what it is right now. But oh my god. So we don't want to use that, right? Obviously. And this is the fun of live coding. Device height. What's going on now? Okay. And so you want to take all of this and divide it by 9? I mean, that sounds right, but that calculation doesn't seem to be working out perfectly. But anyhow, that gives us like 8 seats. I'm trying to aim for 9, but I can't really get that right now. And so let's assume that we have 8 seats in a vertical column. You can place your airplane seats using this type of layout. And so let's assume that we want to introduce this space right here and this space right here at the very end, which is very common. The way you would do like provide extra spacing is you might want to say minimum, why don't you use collection view height? So I think collection view height and the views height is the same value. Okay, and so if you want to provide spacing, like spacer views for like this, and that down here, you can use this method called minimum item spacing for section at. And so if you, let's see, so this doesn't actually give you spacing per index path, which is unfortunate. So it's +1. Yeah, I think +1 sounds better. Is it +1? So number of seats in column. -1 didn't sound correct, but +1 doesn't sound correct either. Yeah, so +1 gives you that. So I'm trying to draw the spacing from up here to up here. So that's total device height. So doing this would be the same thing. Collection view, and the view has the same height pretty much, I would think. Well, that seems to be working. So the collection views height and the views height seems to be different. Always interesting what you find out. So number of seats in column, you should use a value of 8. Oh, yeah. So I guess the reason why the collection view height is different is because you're not accounting for this bottom view indicator thing. And so the views height actually will account for the spacing underneath this bottom indicator guy. And the collection view, because we've anchored it to the safe area guide bottom anchor, is actually only up to here to here. So what I mean is the collection view starts at this top section and ends right here. So you get that extra space there. So collection view's height is less than the view's height. And then once you pop that in and you provide the -1 number of seats, you have 9 seats using this. Okay, so that's kind of what we get. All right. Now, what you can do now, which is kind of a hack, is let's say you want to remove this seat here. Is that what the airplane looked like? Let me see if I can bring my airplane back. Where are you? Okay, so, oh no. Let me clear out my arrows here. Okay, so what I'm trying to model out is this empty seat and this empty seat. So we have 7 cells inside of this column. And if you want to remove this seat and this seat, you'll have 7 cells, right? So one hack, I don't know if it's really a hack, but one dirty way of doing this is to just make your cells right here white. And I'm not like super happy with that hack, but we'll try it anyways. I'm just trying to read the chat in the back. So yeah, the best way of doing this is to provide a custom collection view layout, a subclass of collection view layout. And I haven't done this before, but I don't know how to provide custom spacing between each index path, really. And I mean, I can think of how to do that. I can provide a longer size cell for this, or for this guy, I can provide a height that's twice as tall, and then just have an empty space for this bottom space area. That doesn't sound that hard actually, but trying to do it live, if you haven't done it before, is pretty difficult. So I guess what I'll do here is I'll just make this cell here white. So if the cell, let's see, this is 2, so 0, 1, 2. And then also it's like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, if it's modulo 2 and modulo 6, we're going to use white. So what I mean is we're going to say if index path dot item modulus 2 equals 0, or index path modulo 6 equals 0, then we will say cell dot background color equals dot white. Else we'll use the red seat like that. And nope, that's not correct. Just pop in the item. So we use item whenever we're using a collection view. Oh, yeah. So that's 0, 1, 2, so 0 modulus 2, and that is obviously going to be the incorrect number. So how can we do this correctly here? So we have a checkerboard now, which is not great. Right. So the question is, how do we provide the correct calculation? The correct calculation to make sure that these right here and right here are empty. So that is the question. So, I mean, I have one solution in mind on how to do this. Not sure if it's the best. So I'm thinking about providing a section for each one of these vertical columns, which kind of makes sense, but at the same time it doesn't really make sense. And let's see, is there a better way of doing this? I guess we'll go for hack solutions. All right, so each column contains number of items in section is 9, and we're just going to say number of sections is going to return, let's say something like 5. And let's see. Okay, we're gonna say if index path dot item is not equal to, or let's see, and index path dot item not equal 6. We'll do that, or maybe this. Okay, this is not looking good. Is that what I want to do? Whenever I'm trying to perform like Boolean logic, I always get confused with the ors and the stuff. The ors and the ands. I don't think that's going to work actually. Okay, so it looks like it's all, this is never true and everything's just becoming white. Okay, so we'll just do this like this, index path dot item equals 2. Or index path dot item equals 6. Then we'll say white. Trying to do this live is hard. Kind of reminds me of these good old interviews where you sit down, have a whiteboard, and try to program something. Okay. And I think the reason why it looks like that is because we don't have spacing. We don't have the spacing correct. So if I provide number of sections to be 1, it's just going to have that 1 column right here. And like if we want to bring this back to 5 or 6, 5, you can say, let's see, is it padding for a section? What is that method called? It's like insets. It's like insets for a section, so return like spacing. No. And it's, let me get the top. I'll say 0, spacing is left, and 0, 0. Okay, so that's going to give us, for each one of our sections, you really need some spacing on the left side as well. That way you can provide this spacing here, 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 and here. So if you try to model out the plane like that, then, you know, if you have, I don't know, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then if you have like 7 sections, you can just use 7 for number of sections. Okay. And that's how you would like model out the first 7 sections of your plane. Again, I don't really like having this hack where the index of 2 and 6 is a white cell. There's a better way of doing that if you change the custom layout for your collection view so that you don't have to provide that hack. But, you know, we're in a live coding session, so that's what we're going to do for now. And let's say you want to change this so that you can have more sections, but the later sections of, you know, between column 8 to, I guess, the rest of the columns up to this right here, these columns. Let's say you want to provide 9 cells for that, right? So let's say you have a total of 7 plus, I don't know, like I guess the middle, we'll call this middle the business class, and this is the poor people, the peasant class. This right here, this is where the peasants sit inside of your airplane, so they don't dirty up the nice seats for business and first class, where they belong, right? So this is the 7. So 7 for the peasants, the plebs, and the peons, and then you have 12 for business class. Okay, it's okay because I sit in the peasants class. So let's say for the 12, right? We want to have the seats here, have 9 seats in the vertical column. So the way that you would do that is for this self or item thing, you can always check the sections of index path dot. Let's see. I think we want to do like, I guess do it cleanly. You can say and index path dot section is less than 7, less than equals 7. Okay. And so for any of the sections that are greater than 7, then you'll get like this seating here. So you'll get that, right? So these are the business class. And if you want to separate the actual, like you want to change the color as well, you can do something else inside of here, I guess. So if index path dot section equals less than equals 7, then we'll use that here, and else cell dot background color. Let's say the business class is blue. So instead of red, you'll just change it to blue. Okay, so now you have your business class there, and if you want to model out the first class up here where they have about 6 seats, you would apply the same logic. You would add 6 to this down here, so plus 6 for first class. And let's see, you obviously don't want to have 7, 12, and 6 like that, so let peasants so num seats per column peasants equals 7, and let's just modify this to business and the first class, the kings of the airplane. So let's say there's 2 columns for the first class, and so you would use this instead, that and that and this here. You might consider using an enum that specifies what the values for that is, but that seems to be okay. So when you have these constants down here, you can actually use them inside of this, which is better. I think I'm spelling peasants wrong, so let's modify that. I think that's how you spell peasants. And so obviously every time you modify your code a little bit, you want to run it again. And if you want to clean up the refactoring, you should also provide the index, some constants for the index of 2 and 6 for the empty seats also. Okay. Oh. And that's what we have. If you want to provide, let's see. So let's say, and let's see, else if index path dot section is less than equal num business, then there'll be blue, else cell dot background color equals, let's say, dot purple. No, that's a little bit too close to blue. So we'll go with good old RGB or RBG here. So number of section is less than, so this is actually incorrect. Okay. So I think we need the equal, less than equal. I think we just want to have a less than, I guess. So there's actually 7 here. So I think we want to do that. And let's see. That looks okay. So we can get rid of the equal. So there's 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now we have 2 for the first class. So using this logic, you can do that. And if you want to remove the first class seats, you would want to remove these seats for the index of 2 and also the index of, see, this one's a little bit trickier. You want to remove the index of 0, 1, 2, and then also, see, you want to remove this one, so this seat here, and also this seat and this seat. And you would have to figure out how you want to align these seats so that they're kind of centered, but the way that your layout is set up right now, it's kind of hard to center it. But I guess that's okay. Yeah, you're now in the territory of doing layouts, which you really have to understand the way a collection view layout subclass would have to lay out these index path items. So this is now wrong. Okay, so I think we want to say less than. Okay. That was good. And maybe we go into here. So this is the first class. Next path equals 6, or next path item equals 7. Okay, so a lot of if checking here. I don't think it's avoidable, but we'll just do that. 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 5 and 6 is what we want. 6 and 5. All right. So hopefully this is a good exercise for anyone that's trying to figure out how to lay out things like a little more efficiently. The spacing here is kind of off. That's how I would describe it. And you know, that's fine. I think a lot of people will understand that, you know, you have 6 columns in first C and just pick the right one. So like one of the issues with the way that we've decided to hack in these white seats is that if you're trying to lay out, or if you're trying to respond to the selection of this seat, yeah, you're going to get the correct one because this is 0, 0, this is 0, 1. And the problem now is when you click on this, you get the value of 0, let's see, 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is 0. This should be 0. This should be 0, 2 actually, right? Because this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have a total of 7 seats, and now you have this empty seat here, which bumps up this index by 1. And so, like, when you're trying to respond to the selection of each individual cell item, you don't want to have these like empty hacks so that your index is shifted by 1 here, and then it's shifted by another one here. So this one down below is shifted by 2, an integer of 2. So it really messes up the way that you handle your seats. Ideally, you want to model the layout. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That way your selection is like super straightforward. You don't have to go through like, you also don't have to perform this like 2 and 6 check. The layout will handle the empty spaces for you, and then the index paths are correctly are correct, and you don't have to worry about it. I'm sure there is no way to skew the spacing per row. So usually you are supposed to provide this right here. So collection view minimum item spacing for section. So let's say you return a value of like 20. Then this is going to make it so that each one of your what is this? The line per vertical, like the separation here and here. Now that's a value of 20. Unfortunately for here, you only have the section that you can play around with, which means that your section, you only have like section 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. So that's the unfortunate part of that. And there's something else that you can try, which is number of minimum line spacing for section. So there's another method called line spacing, and because we're in a horizontal collection view now, line spacing corresponds to these vertical column spacers here, here, and here. And so that's kind of the problem with this right now. And I guess one way to avoid this if checking of 2 and 6 for these empty rows is to maybe just provide the spacing. Like, let's get rid of all this here. Sometimes they sell that background color equals dot red. And if I run this again, we're going to get all of our red cells again. And so if you decide to like remove these cells for like, let's say index path of 2, you can just make this really tall. So let's go inside of here and provide some spacing. So the cell height's there, and for index path dot item is equal to 2. Then let's see what we want to do here. And I guess we only have 7 seats for these sections, and we'll say return cell height plus spacing, and we want to do 2 times that. And we'll just make sure that the second seat accommodates for a really large person maybe. How come spacing is not good? So seat size, right. So let's say dot init and with a 50. My keyboard really sucks because the delete button is in a weird position. So index item dot item equals 6. So if you do this instead, you hopefully should have a much larger seat for seat number 2 and seat 6. So this is actually 5 now. And what's going to happen is, yeah, so the spacing for this right here is really large. And let's see. So in the airplane seating, we should make this portion of the seat white. And yeah, so that's much better. I think that's better. And so the next thing I would try to do is to provide a custom cell. So let's use airplane. So, we don't have to say airplane anymore. Just say seat cell. UI kit and class and seat cell, UI collection view cell. It's supernet frame. Okay, and let's align our seat. Let's say the height of our seat is actually this. So I'm gonna say let red view equals. Let's just do it here. Okay, so I'm gonna create a red view. We're going to add it inside of this cell, red view. And this is a little bit of a hack, but I'm going to say red view dot anchor. I'll use this extension that comes from this extension file. And so I want to anchor to the bottom, and you'll see what it does. Leading anchor, bottom anchor, trailing anchor. I don't care about the padding, so this guy is going to be width of 0 and 50. Okay, so this should do it, but I'm not sure if that's going to. So the height is the tricky part. Oh, the good old height. Yeah. The height is going to be a little weird. So I think it might be a little bit closer to 40. So that's going to be my custom cell for my collection view. So, and I think the problem with this is like you have, what does that do? Let's see how close I can get to finishing this. Okay, so I don't know, that kind of like just magically works out. I don't really like this solution, or this solution is a lot better than the previous one because you have your custom cell, which you almost always have to provide anyways. This value of 40 over here is kind of a hack, which I don't like, but it seems okay for now. I just guessed the value of 40, which seems to be close to the airplane seating. And doing this, that custom cell, you avoid this entire huge ass if checking of index 2, of index 6, and index 2, index 6. This way it's a lot clearer. And you know, if you want to provide the same logic that gives you the business class here, where you have 9 seats, you can, I guess you can do the same thing of like for the size for item. You probably only want to do that for if index path, no, index path dot section is less than, what is it, the peasants, then you want to do that, I think. Otherwise you just go with the standard. Right, so that's the standard here. A number of items in section returns 7. So if section is less than the peasants, then we will return 7. Otherwise we will return 9. So that, I mean, that seems okay. If you run this now, you should hopefully get the correct layout. Okay, so now that you have the number of seats correct and the index path is all good, so let's say we actually want to select each one of these cells to make sure that, like, you're a user, right, and you're logging into your application, you want to make sure that you're boarding the correct plane, select your seats, and you want to be able to click on each one of those cells there. So the way that you would do that, you know, say did select item at, and let's see. So you know, you just print index path dot item, and as you click your cells, you can see exactly what that is. So this is 0, 0. This is 0, 1. So inside of here is 0, 2. So this is the 0, 2. I'm just looking down here now. And 0, 3. And like that. So we have 0 up to 6. So let's see. Okay, so that's 7 seats. So starting with the index of 0, because everything is 0 based, you have 7 seats with the last index being 6. So this is already much better than the previous way of checking this whole thing, which is a really huge hack. I would kind of consider this size for item thing. This is a better solution, but it's also still a hack. You probably want to have a custom layout that handles all this for you so that you don't have this logic inside of your controller. But providing a custom layout to do this is it's really hard during a live stream. It's the correct way of doing it. And now what you can do is, like, when you're selecting, like, did select item, when you're printing out this guy, let's say we want to highlight this and make that black or something as you click on it. You can just say guard let cell equals collection view cell for item at index path. Index path as seat cell. Okay. Otherwise return, and your cell, it has a red view on it, so let's see, dot black, and let's see, now this is the background color, and maybe this is probably a better way just to illustrate what's going on. So if you do this right now, you'll change the red of the cell to a black. So click on that, you change that black, click on that, right? So if you're a user on your airplane and you click on one of these cells, it's pretty obvious what seat you're selecting. And there's a problem here where if you scroll over, your cells are being recycled. And I guess this is a really good way to illustrate what happens when you recycle your cells. So you're not really changing or you have to really revert the color back to its original color. But yeah, that's what happens when you have cell recycling. So that's yet another issue that you have to address later on. But let's say you want to click on a cell and you want to unhighlight everything, right? So what can you do? Well, you can simply say, let's see, collection view dot visible cells. This will give you everything. So for each, how do I want to do this? I guess I'll say guard let seat cells equals that. You want to cast this down into a array of seat cells. Return seat cells dot for each, and let's just make this $0 dot red view dot background color equals red. And you probably don't want to use dot red here. You want to use whatever the color is inside of your cell. So you want to make sure that this red is refactored out. So click on that. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm clearing out all of the cells to be the original color of red. And like, obviously, when you click on something, all of the cells will become red. Is this overkill? Probably. If you are ever only able to select one cell, then you probably just want to keep track of the cell that was previously selected, and then make sure that the previous cell goes back to red. So that kind of reminds me of the ability to just select cells in the first place. So maybe this is a little bit of overkill for the logic. And if you go back to seat cell, there's actually something called like is selected. So did set and red view dot background color if is selected black red. So let's see if that works instead, because the collection view will actually manage what cell is being selected for you. So you click on that. Yeah, this is actually a lot better than the logic of going through all of your cells. But going through this exercise is helpful too, because not a lot of people know how to iterate through all of the collection view cells. And so if you have the If you instead override the is selected boolean for your collection view cell, then you can have the collection view kind of send over this boolean here every time you select a cell. And then this is going to be true, and it's going to fire off this did set code block here, this little bit of a reactive listener. And upon receiving that boolean, it's going to set it to black if this is true, otherwise this is red. So this is a ternary operator is what this is called, this question mark and colon. It's just a very simple way of writing an if statement concisely. I'm not actually sure what this breaks down to in terms of machine language, but simple if statement. And if you scroll to the right, none of your cells will be black anymore. And so this is a lot better because the collection view will actually set this boolean while you're recycling your cells. It actually remembers which cell is selected. Right, so that's how you would perform the layout of an airplane. If anyone has a different sample exercise they would like me to go through, maybe you can leave it in the chat and I'll see which one is significantly hard. Like, I don't like going through super easy problems because it gets a little boring. This airplane exercise is really interesting, and it goes through a lot of different scenarios that you can set up to model out the layout. Yeah, it's a fun question. Yeah, definitely a fun question. And it also highlights what you would consider a hack inside of programming, because like I was saying previously, this right here is, I probably wouldn't consider this a hack. You'll eventually want to implement this. Yeah, I can easily see your application getting more and more complicated, and then you're going to have to implement something like this anyways. Yeah, but like I was saying before, this huge block right here is a pretty hard hack. So if you're, I guess, yeah, if you're new to programming and you don't know what exactly is considered a hack, the reason why you aren't able to gauge what a hack is because you haven't gone down the path of working with a hack. And so as you become a more experienced developer, you have a better intuition as to what feels like a hack and what isn't a hack. So I've worked with these index path like numbers before, and like having done this many times, you just know, like, once you smell it, this is also called a code smell, you know that you're hacking the index to certain numbers, and you have this 2 now, and you have this 6, and if you can avoid these magical numbers of 2 and 6, everything is going to be much easier to deal with later down the road. So I just know that this is a bad idea. Now, like, let's kind of look like further down the road and think about other scenarios where if you have to expand your columns to support, like, let's say you expand it to a different number of rows, number of seats per column, then you have to introduce like different ways of doing this check, and it's going to grow pretty gnarly. And yeah, well, I guess you still have the same bit of logic here where you're doing this if check, but this is a lot easier to deal with, in my opinion. And so if you implement everything correctly, you get the, like, you automatically get this is selecting to work out correctly. So previously, this thing would trigger the changing of this empty seat color. And I guess right now, when you click on here, you still get the seats to turn black, which is kind of weird. But yeah, so this is the other issue that you have to deal with. Yeah. So the true solution is to provide this gap here through your collection view layout subclass. That's the true solution. Do I know how to do that right off the bat, off the top of my head? I think I do. So do I want to attempt the custom collection view layout? I don't think I want to attempt that, because that requires a significant amount of like boilerplate code for the custom collection view layout. It's always hard to set that guy up. Yeah, so let's kind of go back to the chat here. So absolutely no hack. Imagine changing to a different plane layout. Yeah. So you have to consider a lot of different like scenarios. As a programmer, you obviously want to build out the most scalable solution as possible. And that means dealing with like various situations that you're going to run into. A smaller plane will have, you know, maybe no gaps, like there's going to be no empty seats or empty spaces between the aisles, I would say. And you'll have to deal with that. So like a really interesting problem would be to configure your application so that you can just initialize your collection view with the correct empty seats, the correct empty slots. Like you just say, okay, index of 2 will be empty, index of 6 will be empty, and then your collection view will handle it magically, or the logic for the layout would handle that for you. And you know, like I wouldn't be surprised if obviously the folks that are working at United Airlines or like Cathay Pacifica, whatever your favorite airline is, they have a lot of this logic built into their iOS apps. It's just, yeah. And I guess one last thing I want to say about these exercises is that when you're inside of an interview, you'll be asked these questions. Like, this is a realistic problem that you'll have to deal with. When you're trying to whiteboard these solutions, you'll probably go into a lot of the detail that I went into to arrive to a solution that you're satisfied with. And if I were to give this as an interview question at a company I would consider this a fairly adequate question for a starting level engineer. And maybe I would give this for a senior engineer as well and see their thought process through the problem. And yeah, like I said, you'll run into a lot of these hack solutions, and you have to be able to describe why the solution is hack, why it won't work for multiple different situations. And you want to be able to adequately and eloquently articulate what the problems are and what the trade-offs, the pros and cons are to your solution. That's really what programming is about. You have to think about, you have to be concerned with all of the possible things you'll run into. But yeah. Oh. The interleaved business class seats of the A380 may be a challenge. So I don't know what an A380 is. Let's see if I can pull up an A380 here. A380 images. So any seats. So seat map. All right. So it looks like other people are whoa. Okay. Let's see if I can get a better image. Maybe. Okay. This one looks good. Wow. Is there a better image for this stuff? Okay, so we have. Oh, so there's a main deck and an upper deck. I've never gone into a plane with multiple decks. Yeah, I don't want to. Okay, That sounds scary to me, but if you're taking one of these planes, I wish you the best of luck with your travels. But wow, this looks... So you have main deck and the upper deck. How does that work? How do you get into the plane? How do you get out of the plane? You have two connectors into the airport. Is that how it works? Or there's a stairway? Yeah, there's probably a stairway that takes you up and down. Maybe there's even an elevator that takes you up and down. I wouldn't be surprised if they had that, because if you're a flight attendant, it's really difficult to walk up the stairs. Or maybe you have the serving carts stations on both levels. That way you just take the stair. Having an elevator in an airplane would be really hard to maintain. So wow, you have interleaved seats. So let's see. Let me see if I can get a better image of this guy. Okay, so this is bigger. And let's see. So laying out this and laying out that, if you were to lay this all out in a flat rectangle where all of the seats are on the same horizontal axis and the same vertical axis, this would be considerably easier. Providing this like slanted layout isn't that much, like it's a lot more code, but it's mathematically not that hard, because you would just shift everything over for these middle indices. And so trying to then draw whatever this seat is, that looks like an empty storage area. And you have that. I'm not sure what this middle thing is. Not sure what that is. And so you would have to draw out this middle section a little differently. And then once you get to the actual, the yellow seats in the center here, you would apply the same logic of shifting these up. So this would be the first, this row right here would be a column, I guess, in the previous example. And I guess if you're drawing this out vertically, this would be a row. So you would shift these up a couple of, maybe like 50 pixels, depending on how large this gap is from there to there. So this is getting a little crazy. Let me wipe it out. And wow. So you would inset this a little bit, and then you would bump up that a little bit in the Y direction, and then you would keep drawing this out. So it's a repeating. So it repeats with this one, and so what's repeating? So okay. So it repeats the layout every other row. So you have that to work with. Okay. Okay. British Airways A380 has pie chart like seating. There are stairs. Okay, that's what I assumed. I think there are elevators in certain airplanes. Right, we've seen that in movies, right? They have an actual bar, and wow, I really have to go and take a flight on an A380 now. Elevator is too heavy. Yeah, elevator would be way too heavy. All of the mechanics involved in setting up a proper elevator seems like a lot of heavy load. It's a different configuration on all 380s. Wow. So yeah, if you have a different configuration, then yeah, once you get into the programming level for that, it becomes a lot harder. The cards are per levels. Yep. Yeah. So Joseph Santa Maria, I think you said that you were a pilot, right? And you've flown a lot of different flights. So if you want to get more information about flights, definitely talk to Joseph here. They've got beds on the A380 upper decks. Whoa. Only for the first class though, right? I can't imagine having beds for everyone. That would be insanely expensive. No need to pay for more than flatbeds. Yeah. Okay, so enough about airplanes. I think people are sick and tired of that topic for now. And we have a question from Sanjay Mishra. Do you have any plans to create a video for payment gateway? It is in the plans. It's kind of in the pipeline. I haven't really written out the tutorials, or I don't really have a layout for what I want to do exactly. But yeah, building on an e-commerce app that takes in payment. What I really want to be able to showcase is taking Apple Pay from your phones and how to send your Apple Pay payment token to a payment processor like Stripe or PayPal or Square, whatever those payments are, payment platforms are. And trying to get that to work is it's not incredibly difficult, but you have to set up your own server so that you can process your tokens properly. So the idea here would be to set up an e-commerce, a Node.js e-commerce server, probably on a free platform like Heroku. Make sure you lock it down behind SSL, because if you don't have SSL, it's not going to work out correctly. So setting that up would be setting up SSL on Heroku is not too complicated, but I would have to purchase a new SSL ticket. And yeah, buying an SSL ticket is not cheap. I think currently I pay, what, $70 per year for my SSL certificate. And yeah, maybe I'll talk about that some more. But are you guys interested in how I host my website on letsbuildthatApp.com and what the costs are for the server, the domains, the image hosting, the SSL registration, and all that stuff? So maybe I should describe what the server is actually. So, okay, I'm gonna pull up my dashboard for you guys to see, and I want to pull it up off screen first, just to make sure that nothing's too like there's nothing really secretive going on with the dashboard. Okay, so let's try to see. No, that's not what I want to do. Okay, so for anyone that's interested in like looking at dashboards, this is like the current website, and you know, you have response times and you have throughput. You have a lot of good information for how well your server is performing. So response times are pretty good. We have, you know, certain crashes going on here, and I think this happened overnight, last night. I haven't had the time to look at why these crashes are occurring, or these are actually alerts for whenever the server becomes really slow. So every now and then I have a spike in response time, and that's not great, but as long as it resolves itself, then I'm fine with it. And so throughput is okay. And yeah, you know, we have a lot of responses, memory usage, and all this good stuff. So, you know, I'm running everything through Heroku, and they do all that managing for me. So yeah, I have a Google Golang server on Heroku. That cost me, I think, $25 to host. I think I pay for some extra options for the package. So like logging and I think database. I think I pay for those two things. And so in total, server cost is relatively cheap for the operation that I'm running. And yeah, I think it's a total of about $40 for all of my server costs on Heroku. Image hosting, I do on S3, so Amazon S3 buckets. That typically will cost me like $15, less than $15. So really cheap. And it's really interesting once you get into paying for things like out of your own pocket, because whenever you're working at a software company, you always have these large budgets that the company provides you, and you can safely, or not safely, but you can, you're not super concerned because it's not your credit card. So you just charge, like buy whatever you want, the best machines. And now that you're paying for these servers yourself, you have to really watch what you're spending your budget on. So if you're able to pull it off, like the entire server cost within $50 to $100, then you're doing like excellent. And that's pretty much where I'm falling, the range that I'm falling under, because I have my domain registered at GoDaddy, and they are, I don't know, what is it, like $7.99 per year? I think I have my domain registered for the next 5 years. So, that's that 8 times 5. It's about $40 for 5 years. That's a super cheap deal. And SSL is, what is it, like $60 for 2 years? So about $30 a year. Yeah. And what else do I have? I think I have other server costs. Yeah, so Tensei Kenzi says that a $5 server from Linode or DigitalOcean, but then again, you got to set up, you got to do the setup. So yeah, I thought about hosting or getting my own box on AWS EC2. I've done that in the past, and it's a really good exercise to register your machine, get it up and running, but managing that machine yourself it's too much of a headache. Like, I'm not into ops, so if I can offload the ops work to Heroku and have them manage it, then I'm more than happy to have them do it for me, and I'll just pay them the extra money. I get the logging for free. You have to set up the logging yourself. And yeah, Heroku is just easier for me. I don't think it's going to save me that much more money. So do I ever log actions inside of my apps? So for iOS, I use like Google Analytics to log actions, and for the website, I don't think I'm logging much. I'm logging some stuff like errors for the website. You always have to figure out what's crashing your server, so error logging is a must. But yeah. Let's see. Okay, just looking at some emails here. Mert Emir says, come on, Aman. I want to hear your thoughts about Android dev. So I want to release an Android course for anyone that's interested in learning Android as well. I have a huge source code repo for an Instagram style app, and it's all built out. Just have to release that. The reason why I'm not releasing any Android material is I don't know if people are going to purchase it, honestly. So it's more of a business reason. Let me know in the chat if I put out an Android course, if you guys are willing to pay for it. like truthfully speaking, everything is about like how to support, like manage the business and manage my time. I want to provide as much like YouTube content as possible. So if releasing a paid Kotlin Android Instagram course will offset some of the costs for other things, then it'll make it easier to push out like YouTube content at the same time. So yeah, managing that is very important in terms of staying in the green and not falling in the red in terms of, I guess, money management for your budget. So Joffrey Baratheon says, where is Tetris? Okay, so that was enough programming talk. Let me just relax here with another stressful game of Tetris. Not a good piece set, but I guess we'll make it work. Yeah, not the best piece set right here. Let's clear that out. Let's hope for a big old juicy line to go on the left side. And we have that. Clear that up on the left side. And here we go. Let's hopefully get Tetris ready by dropping that there. Oh no. Okay, so got lucky there. And we'll get Tetris ready now. Set up that. Make sure we can clear out the left side soon with this piece here. Got our eyepiece, but we couldn't use it. It always sucks when you can't use your eyepiece efficiently. And let's drop that there, put that here, get our eyepiece down the side. Let's see if I can break Sometimes you can just sit here and play Tetris for like hours, which sadly I've done the last couple of days. Yeah, let me know what server setups you guys use, and maybe I can change it up for what I'm using right now. There are some things that I'm like not happy with in terms of my server setup, but overall, I think it's working out pretty well. Looks like we're gonna, all right, we got our eyepiece. Clear that. Get another Tetris. And, oh no. All right, we're just gonna do that for now. Oh, I should have put it in that slot there. Oh, now I'm in like horrible position for any piece to come. Okay, so we're in cleanup mode. Let's wait for a long piece here and clear that out. Not sure what I'm doing now. I guess I'll do a row 1 Tetris. Not ideal, but you know, you gotta make do with what you have. Okay, see, when you're playing like this and you don't get your eyepiece, you get really screwed and you got to play really high, which is never comfortable. Let's see if I can wait for the eyepiece. Nope, not gonna happen. Okay, now I'm kind of dependent on a couple of pieces here, which you never want to be too dependent on a certain piece. I think I should have put it on the right well, but yeah, this works. Let's put that there, burn that piece a little bit later. No, that's not good. Okay, we got lucky there. Let's hope for another. Oh god. No. Alright. I didn't have dash charged, so nope. I think this is GG's. So a lot of people talk about hybrid development, which is a little silly. Maybe I'll let you guys know what I think about hybrid development. So hybrid development isn't a new thing, right? Like hybrid development has been around for years. And so the question you have to ask is, you know, it's been around for years, right? Why hasn't it taken over yet? You know, native development is still alive and well. How come you don't have strictly React Native developers? And why are native developers still making so much money per year developing applications? And for the most part, you have native developers sort of running the show with what's possible and pushing the limits of developing your apps. So like, why is it that native development is still so strong? No, that's not what I wanted to do. No. See, this is what happens. Ugh, horrible. Ooh, even worse. Okay, let's see if we can save this game. Okay, we're going to do that for some reason. No. That's too fast. I think it's over. You guys use Docker? Yeah. So develop one project and deploy on both sides. So when you're developing hybrid applications, you think that writing one code base for all of your applications is a good idea. Like, everything sounds great on paper, but the moment that you actually start writing out the code, you'll realize how different each platform is. And quickly what happens is the code that you write gets splintered off into a lot of different if checks, like, oh, if iOS do this, if Android do that. And before you know it, you have you essentially have two different code bases living in one section of your repo, and you pretty much end up with two different applications anyways. So all the effort that you spent trying to research all the different hacks to getting your hybrid app to work, trying to manage that and maintain that over time actually takes up way more time than you would spend just developing your app natively. So, people tend to get tricked into all of the benefits of writing out a hybrid app, and before they know it, they've spent more time just developing hacks for their app. That happens a lot. It's not in every case that happens, but more and more people have found that to be the case. No. Ooh, let's go for a line dependency here. And whoa. See, sometimes my brain just thinks in the wrong way. You get a luck. Oh no. Okay. Oh. See, when I'm streaming and when I'm trying to run this emulator, things get really strange with the controls. Like every time I hit a key, sometimes it doesn't register. And then before I know it, the stack is unmanageable and I'm dead. Okay, so next question, what is my review on Google Flutter? Again, I'm not a big fan of hybrid development, so the couple of videos that I released on Flutter was sort of my way to experiment with what's possible. And there are a lot of like shortcomings with Flutter right now that you can't really address, such as managing the keyboard correctly, playing videos easily. Like those are real world features that you have to build out. And when I was looking at how to do it, how to build out a video player, it was really hard. And in iOS and Swift, it's super easy to just use AV Player and AV Kit and everything works correctly without you like fussing about as to why things don't work. And so there are a lot of those type of problems that you have to deal with. And whoa, no. Yeah, my brain got kind of stuck thinking about the video player issue. I made a GitHub request for fixing that Flutter video player, and it took, I don't know, half a year for them to address the video player issue and why it doesn't work in the simulator, why it doesn't work on a real device. And it just took them really long, right? And like with any new platform, you go through these times where, you know, you want the team to provide fixes, but you're not in control of the code at all. So it takes forever to get any type of fix. And, you know, it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth with that experience. So that's what you have to deal with. I'm not a big fan of dealing with that. Like when I used to work at a company, I didn't like having to wait for other developers to provide the code that supported the feature that you're trying to build out. So for example, if you're working on a CRUD page or something and you're waiting for the server team to provide you with the APIs for the data, what tends to happen is the server team usually they take a while to give you the code. And so every time I had to wait for other people, I got really restless, and I would just dive into the code myself and help the server team write out some stub code so that I can actually work with the data. And it's really a team effort trying to manage all that together. So, you know, doing all that work and making sure everything is running smoothly. Yeah, it's great to have everyone working on the same page. I shouldn't have done that. Should have placed that here. Okay. Okay, getting pretty lucky with the Tetris is. And let's see if I can, wait for that line piece. Let's try to play safe this game. Okay, so just try to clear as safely as possible. Make sure you're not in too much trouble. Got that line piece here. Could have waited, but I think I think I'm playing a little dangerously again. Okay, and we will get Tetris ready now. Oh, sorry if I'm not talking while I'm playing. It's a little difficult. And let's see, if someone wants to ask another question in the chat, maybe I'll answer another question and then I'll try to bail out of here and record some videos for the new Tinder course. Sometimes it's good to just relax. Oh, that should have went in there. Oh no, now I am looking for the J piece, which is gonna come. But one piece too late. I think I am screwed here. Okay, not a good way to end, but okay. Using enums removes many of the simple errors people make in generics. Yeah, that's definitely true. The thing about generics is that it's more of like an architectural design problem. And the more that you can utilize generics in a reasonable way, the better off your code is going to be, because it eliminates the generic logic that you have to constantly write over and over. Cormel. So for the channel, something that I guess I've intentionally not focused on that much. Looking at some emails here. Yeah. So if you guys can tell, the YouTube channel, it's really heavily focused on like building out UI, and there's a lot of reasons for that, because video format is a extremely like visual medium, and doing things visually is much more appealing. If we start diving into things like CoreML, you really have to set up some like interesting use cases to apply machine learning to. I personally don't have too much experience like working with machine learning, so I don't have like an easy way to get access to interesting machine learning projects that are easy to present in a visual video format. So that's one of the reasons why I've stayed away from things such as CoreML, a lot more like coding intensive programming lessons. But I mean, I do intend on doing more algorithm questions, because that's one of my hobbies, is to like look at algorithms and figure out how things are done correctly. And it's always a good idea to keep your algorithm skills sharp and intact. Okay. Some guy wrote, he set up a CoreML project to discover nudity in dating apps. Ooh, that's good. I can't do like nudity detecting unless I blur out a lot of things, but that's a good idea. Maybe detecting like violence, detecting a violent image or something like that. Detecting a like different emotions inside of an image. That'd be a good way to present machine learning in a visual way. You would do Rust over Go any day. Yeah, so my server is built on Go. I don't have a like very compelling reason why it's in Go. I think I wrote Golang because during the time I was looking into Google Golang, and I was building up a lot of server code. And the thing that's great about Golang is it's extremely fast. Like the performance on Golang is it's insane. Like being able to serve thousands and thousands of users at one time without having to think about resources too much. Like that's a huge advantage of using Golang. One downside of Golang would be that the language itself is more difficult to read, and yeah, I would say it's a little more difficult to write as well. So, you have to weigh the pros and cons against each other. And to me, I feel like Go is tough to. It's just like any other server language. It's probably hard to understand at first, but a language such as Node.js is easier to write if you're just going into server programming without too much knowledge in it. But one thing that I really wanted to have with my server is type safety. So you don't get type safety in Node.js because it's JavaScript. And so that's kind of why I use Google Go. I think I could have went with a Java server, but no one really wants to do Java on their own time. It's insane. And a lot of people ask me if I would have written my server in like a Swift language, like Vapor or Kitura. And I think those two frameworks, server-side frameworks for Swift, are not mature enough for us to rely on in terms of production. And I think they're getting better over time. But for me, I would ideally stay away from Xcode as much as possible. If you guys have written in a lot of different code editors like Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code, IntelliJ, what else is out there? That's good. I think those are the two good ones out there. Maybe Atom Editor. If you touch those editors, it's like a lot faster to write in compared to Xcode. So if you can manage to stay away from Xcode for anything other than writing iOS apps, I would recommend that you do that. And obviously, I guess the Kitura team is not going to like me for saying that, or the Vapor team. But if you've written server code in any other framework language, you'll see it's like you're closer to the terminal. And maybe, yeah, I guess I'll stop bashing Xcode. Yeah, so there's nothing like Vim. So the closer that you can get to Vim, or Emacs, the closer that you can just simply write code without any extra stuff on the screen, the better you're going to be as like a server programmer. That's kind of my opinion. So Xcode has way too many like switches and knobs to deal with. And it works great for like iOS development, but for server-side development, it's like really tough. Please teach Firebase Recycler View Kotlin. Well, there's already like 5 or 10 videos with the Recycler views in Firebase and Kotlin. I don't know if you're searching the channel correctly. Maybe you're phrasing your question incorrectly. If you want to learn Kitura, there's a server-side Swift by Paul Hudson, aka Two Straws. Yeah, if you want to, go ahead and check out Paul Hudson. I really like Paul's blog pages. There's always some interesting things to pick up and learn as you're figuring out what the new bits are to the Swift language. Well, I've been on stream for like 2 hours and 29 minutes. It's extremely long. Okay. Can you make a video on the blurry stretchy header and a video how to use UI view? So that is asked by Michael Pfeiffer. I actually have a video recorded with the blurry stretchy header and UI view property animator. class. So I have a video recorded. I'm just waiting to release it, I think tomorrow morning. So you'll get a video on that. It talks about UI view property animator more, and we go through how to build out the stretchy header with the blur effect. It's a long video, about 30 minutes, but it's really packed with a lot of different examples that you have to run through. Okay, so last question for today, and I think I'm gonna have some lunch and record further videos. Okay, so Nori Muhammad asks, okay, so here's the last question that I've been thinking about for maybe the last day or two. How long do you think it takes to become a senior iOS developer? So I don't really like to think of engineers and developers in small niches like this. So what I'm referring to as a small niche is like an iOS developer, an Android dev, or a server dev, or a front-end dev. Ideally, if you're working as a developer, you should know how to work on at least 2 different aspects of engineering. You should at least, like anything you're doing, you should at the very least understand how the server architecture works. And once you understand the server, you'll be able to do your job a lot better on the front end or the mobile side, or the data analysis side, because once you understand how the tables are structured inside the database, you can reason about what's possible a lot easier. So I would always suggest that if you're programming, again, always learn the server. And if you're an iOS developer and you've never touched the server before, there's no way that I would consider that iOS developer like a senior developer. The most you can be is a very niched out like iOS developer that knows iOS very well. So you can be a super senior, specialized, focused iOS developer. If you decide to specialize in that, that's a reasonable path, and you'll probably make more than, in terms of salary, because I guess I always think in terms of money. In terms of money, you can probably make more money being a super specialized iOS developer instead of a more full stack developer. It really depends on what you want to do, but more companies are, I guess when companies are hiring, the places that I've been interviewed at, they don't really want, when they're looking for iOS developers, they don't really want full stack developers anyways. So I guess you might as well just be a iOS developer. But I personally like to program with a lot of different aspects of like development, server side, front end, analyzing the metrics, making sure everything's running correctly, testing things. So I guess in a roundabout way, you have to know how to write tests for your applications. You have to consider what's going on with the back end, what you can support with your iOS app, and then how to articulate with the server team what you want to be able to do on your iOS app. So again, knowing how to work with a server is very important. Can you make a tutorial about making a server with JSON parsing? I don't even know what that question is asking, really. Sometimes people come in here with really strangely phrased questions. How's my stream looking? I'm gonna move my stream down here. That's a little far. Kevin V says, get some rest and give us a Tinder course. I think I'm going to work on one last feature for the Tinder course. And then I'll be ready to push out the first set of videos. Okay, so any non-related programming related questions? So Pete Stream says that can you show your workplace from behind? So this is my workplace and it's also my bedroom. I don't know if it's obvious or not, but there's actually a bed right here. And one of the nice things about working for like a YouTube channel and yourself is that you don't have to endure the stresses of commuting to work, whether it be driving yourself or taking public transportation. I'm sure all of you guys are fully aware of how time consuming that is, really. And once you're able to work for yourself, like what I'm doing now, every day I will sleep right here, right there. I wake up, have a plan for what I want to do for the day, and then I get to work within, I would say, half an hour after I wake up. Check my emails sometimes right when I wake up, which is not always the best thing. But once you're ready, check your emails, answer some questions, and try to get focused and put out some videos. Like, you cut out all that commute time, which for me, commuting to San Francisco, even though I live in South San Francisco, which is just one city away from the city of San Francisco, it takes me a good 45 minutes to an hour just to get into downtown San Francisco, walk to the office, get settled down, and then grab a cup of coffee, maybe some light snacks for breakfast in the office. And so in total, it would, I don't know, take 2 hours just to get ready to actually touch the keyboard and check your emails. And by the time you get into the office, I don't know, it's like 9:30 to 10 o'clock. You'll probably have a morning meeting and morning stand-up. Before you know it, it's like 11 a.m. in the morning. And you'll get some work done, maybe like an hour. And then lunch is right around the corner at 12:30. You go out for lunch. You come back, it's sometimes 1 o'clock to 1:30. And then what you'll find is that you'll have about 4 hours to get some coding done. And those 4 hours are really important because you don't want to stay after work. If you're young, you can do it, like stay after work past 6 p.m. And a lot of people do that. And a lot of people end up just leaving with their laptops, taking their work home, and then working on their feature sets after they have their dinner. So that's the typical engineering life. It's okay. I used to do that myself for the first 5 to 10 years of my career. I don't want to do that anymore. That's kind of why I decided to get out of the game. So yeah, what was the question that I was trying to ask here? Oh yeah, so my workplace is just at home. And it's really convenient and just helping people learn how to program. So Kevin V says that, how is the Twitter course doing? So let me see if I can pull out some demos. What is this? The XR. Let me flip this around. So portrait for the plane is really screwed up here. Okay, so here's the next video that I have up. So this is how to scale this. I don't know if this is still working. Okay, let's kind of remove these guys. So not sure why this isn't working, but yeah. So a lot of people actually are. So I'm not surprised how many students have enrolled in the course. But I'm really glad that like a lot of students are giving really positive feedback about what they're learning through the course, because it seems the interaction of drag and drop like this and just swiping things with UI pan gesture, transformations, making sure you have child view controllers on the right side, a middle child controller inside of this entire panel. A lot of that is never discussed on the internet because like it takes a while to build out a significantly large project like this. And students have given me a lot of positive feedback about what they've been able to pick up. So that's great. And yeah, so for this right here, so this is probably an even more advanced version of what you can do with a pan gesture, and then how to animate this view from the back, how to zoom it in like that. And then you want to be able to like swipe things and, you know, click on this to circulate through the images and, you know, swipe it out. So we're going to be working on this and getting all of it done. It's like yeah, there's a lot going on here, and I really want to be able to get into the details of this person and support like more user information. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I plan on putting the final source code together and then putting up a video that allows people to download the final source code project to play around with. That way the people that have purchased it, which is a good number of people that have found their way to the course and have enrolled already. So we'll go through how to do that, and we'll go through the source code also. And there are some other things, some other projects that I've been working on. I don't know if you guys want to see it. Yeah. Okay. So I guess I'll put up a couple of different things maybe that I want to show. I don't know where my screen is. So let's see if I can pull up this. Okay, so the Pinterest, I'm not sure if I want to do a course on the Pinterest stuff, because let's see. So here's the like a Pinterest work layout flow thing. And you know, the reason why I don't really want to make a course out of this is because a lot of the information is already out on the internet. So Ray Wenderlich does a really good job of explaining how to lay out something like this. I'm not sure if I want to go over exactly how it's done. The only thing like really special about this is like trying to figure out how to perform these custom transitions, which you think is a custom transition, but it really isn't. It's just manipulation with this view here, zooming it out here, and then when it's done, you just present a different controller on top of the stack. And that way you can maintain this back stack interaction on the left side. And, you know, the trickiest part about this entire exercise is the layout itself. So trying to figure out how to have your header up here and then your cells. So this is just a UI collection view. You have your collection view header up here, and then you have your items right underneath it. So if you look at the very first page, which is this right here, you'll see that you don't have a header in this screen. And they're actually using like this page right here and this previous page. They're actually using the same layout. The same layout class, which provides this Pinterest style layout. And, you know, trying to structure your program so that you can support that code and reusability is interesting. So I don't know if people want to see that entire exercise. You know, maybe. Yeah. The other thing I want to go through is how to set up unit testing, which is always very difficult. Okay. Crypto says, I've been practicing Photoshop for 2 years. I feel like I want to chase a career. Where should I look for a job? I don't know. I don't know what practicing Photoshop for 2 years really means. I would say that if you want to go into design, like being able to create really interesting and unique UI for mobile applications and websites is a good way to get into that industry. I've been using Photoshop for 15 years, or maybe more than 15 years actually. So, like, if I were to focus on design instead of programming, I would have done that as my primary focus as my career instead, which is always something that I wanted to do. And now that I have the YouTube channel, I get to provide all of these assets and do all that stuff myself. I guess one thing I'll mention about the YouTube channel is that if you want to, like, if you're thinking about creating your own channel or your own stream, it's really helpful if you know your way around like design tools and editors, like video editors, because you would think that, okay, you're going to spend some extra money on a designer and someone to help you create thumbnails. But the problem with that is when you hire someone else, it takes a lot of communication and back and forth and just consumes way too much time to get any work done. So being able to do it yourself, you have to learn how to just put things together. Yeah. What did I major in college? So I got my degree in applied mathematics in industrial engineering, and I took a lot of programming courses while I was at Cal, UC Berkeley. So, you know, that was more than 15 years ago. No, probably less than that. More than 10 years ago. So, I would say nowadays going to school to learn programming is, I don't know if I would recommend that anymore. I would say it's still a very sound option to go to school for programming. But I think nowadays for any discipline, there's so much information available online that you probably don't have to rely on traditional college education to get yourself set up. But yeah, I guess the discussion of whether or not college degrees are still helpful is a discussion left for another day. How do I stay motivated? Like, I can see you do well in every aspect, and I'm like, oh. Being motivated is different for everyone. For me personally, I think over the years, or maybe even from very early on, I've been able to keep myself very disciplined in what I want to do. I do understand that it's very easy to get distracted and lose your focus on things. But for me, I have a very, it weighs very heavily on my conscience. Whenever I'm not being productive, I get this heavy sense of, what am I doing with my life? I could be producing something, I could be making something and being creative and learning something else at the same time. If I'm not doing any of those things, then that gets me really down. So that's kind of a pro and con, because it means that, okay, I'm kind of working tirelessly, trying to constantly push myself, and I'm never really happy with where I'm at. And, you know, never being satisfied is kind of a double-edged sword. You're never satisfied, which means that there's always something else out there to improve at. And so that's how I stay motivated. Yeah, I never really thought about that as being a motivation, but that's kind of how my brain works. It's really strange. Okay. So we're approaching the 3-hour mark, my longest stream, I think, so far. Just want to thank everyone for joining me in today's live stream. I am going to take a break and then get into some video source code preparation. And yeah, thanks for all the questions today. Hopefully I was able to provide some useful answers to the pressing questions that were typed out in the chat today. And I will try to see everyone later. Hope you guys are able to get a good meal in. I'm going to have my lunch right now. That's going to be it for me. I will see you maybe in a month. Bye, guys.